Hello beauties, and welcome back to the Bumpy Bones Locksport channel. Now in this video we're going to be talking about the ABUS 7240 and my tips and tricks for picking this guy open. So let's go ahead and get started. Now you may be asking yourself, hey Bumpy, you already have a video out there where you pick open and gut the ABUS 7240, so why are you doing another video? Well, historically this lock has been the bane of my picking experience. This is the lock that I have had the most difficult time learning. And so a couple months ago I decided that I just really needed to push through it. I needed to get better at this lock, learn this lock better, and I did a huge push in terms of figuring this lock out. And so I wanted to share my tips and tricks that I learned during that process with you for those of you who are having a hard time with this lock. So let's talk about this lock a little bit. This is a green belt level lock in the Lockpickers United Belt System, so it is comparable to the American Lock 1100 series, but this lock, in my opinion, is so much more difficult than this lock. And one of the reasons why I find this to be a lot more difficult is the keyway. And so if we take a look at the keyway, what we're going to see is with the American lock, we have the AM5 keyway. And the AM5 keyway is a beautiful keyway. I love it. It is a wide open keyway. I can take a nice deep hook. I can go right into the bottom of that, and I have plenty of room to get to the picks, and that just right there makes this so much easier to pick open. With the ABUS 7240, what we're getting is we're getting a more paracentric keyway. And so what you're going to notice is I can't take the same pick, and I can't put this in here all that well. We have this warding right here that is blocking my pick. Now, there are little holes in this that you can, if you know where they are, take advantage of. But the problem with that is the deeper you go into the lock, you're going to need a really long hook in order to get the pins up, especially if it is a low cut on your key. And so trying to work around the warding is a lot more difficult. It's also a lot more narrow. And so you don't have a lot of room in here, and you're going to notice that at the top here you have this little curve here which makes tensioning it a little bit more difficult. And so just this design in the keyway made it so much more difficult for me because I had to change the way that I picked with this lock here. Now the other difference is I think the American Lock 1100 series is a 5-pin lock. This is a 6-pin lock. But what you'll find in this lock here is you will find 5 security pins, and so we have 5 spool pins and a standard pin. You won't see serrated pins in the ABUS 7240, and so it does make it a little bit easier because you know what you're going to encounter. You know you're going to have 5 spool pins. I have encountered, typically you get the standard pin in the first pin here, but I have encountered some ABUS 7240s where the standard pin is mixed, somewhere in a different location. So it's not always guaranteed that that standard pin is going to be the first pin. So the other thing is these are a bit smaller than the American Lock 1100 series. So you do want to be careful because what you will notice is if we look at this one here, that's almost at the shear line. And I got a video out there, and I do recommend people to check it out, why you really want to be careful of locks that have small key pins, and when they hit close to that shear line there, in fact that might be below the shear line. And so you really want to be careful with these because if you do encounter some of these that do go below the shear line, you do have the potential of shearing your springs with this. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the tools that we'll need. The other thing that I encountered with this lock is that, in comparison to the 1100, is with the 1100, I just need a single pick. this deep hook is the pick that I use on this lock here, and this can open any American Lock 1100 series. However, with the ABUS 7240s, I have to use a bunch of different picks depending on the bitting of the key. And so what I recommend people use with this, or the tools I recommend, is having a bunch of different picks. I recommend using the 20,000 or the 0.5 millimeter picks. And what you'll want is you'll want a really nice shallow hook. Now this is a shallow hook that I made using a Covert Instruments pick blank. I also use the shallow hook from the Covert Instruments Reaper set. Having a short hook is good. I also use a lot the hook number 1 from Multpick. So this is the PNF06 pick. This I got from the 0.5 millimeter add-on set that Multpick sells. This is a really good pick when it comes to the ABUS 7240. And then I also have a medium hook, and I don't use this one a lot, but there are a couple of picks that come in very handy, or a couple of times that this does come in handy. So these are the picks that I would recommend you to have, and what we're going to do is I'm just going to get these set up in the order that I'll probably grab them. So when I start picking, I always start with our shallow hook, and then I kind of work my way to the deeper hooks with this. In terms of tensioning, what I'm recommending people use is this tensioner here. This is the bottom of the keyway tensioner from the McNally Reaper set. And what's really nice is that Covert Instruments is now selling just the tensioners in their chop shop. So you don't have to buy the Reaper set. I'm going to be using some of the Reaper picks from Covert Instruments in this videos, but if you don't have those, no problem. And if you just want to get the tensioner, I highly recommend getting the tensioners. And the reason I recommend these is the way that they design them. And so this is kind of a standard tensioner that you would get. And what you're going to notice is that the head is a little thinner. Not by much, but a little bit. And that little bit makes a huge difference. And so if I go to use this tensioner here, what you're going to notice is it fits, but I am losing a ton of space in the keyway here. To a point where I can't get my pick in there, and if I do, well, I can get my pick in there, and but what's going to happen is the deeper I go into the lock here, the pins in the front here, I'm going overset because I don't have enough room. I'm using about half, or actually probably more than a half, of my key space for my tensioner. You can go top of the keyway with this, but the problem that I have with top of the keyway is holding the lock with the tensioner. So because the keyway goes off to the upper left rather than the upper right like the American lock, I have to hold the lock almost like this in order to tension it. And then I gotta twist my arm funky, and it just hurts. And so utilizing this tensioner, what we're going to notice is that if I put that in there, now all of a sudden I have a lot more room with the way that this tensioner is designed. So this tensioner, in my opinion, was a very big game changer, especially when it came to ABUS and Yale keyways, because for me it really opened up that ability to do bottom of the keyway tensioning. So this is the tensioner that we're going to use. And so let's go ahead and talk about the process of picking this lock open. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my shallow hook, and I'm going to go through and I'm going to set the pins that I can set with this hook first, and then I'm going to go to the short hook and or the hook number 1 from Multpick, and kind of work my way up that way. The one thing that I often run into, or the one hitch that I run into a lot with this lock, is pin number 6. And so what happens is I'll go through and I'll pick this open. I'm not going to pick open the cutaway here because the vendor that I got this from overcut the strips here. And so it is just way funky with the tensioning and all of that. So I'm not going to pick this one open. But what will happen is I'll pick this open and I'll hit a point where I can't push my pick in, and I'm getting caught on pin 6. And so pin 6 always is one that gives me a lot of problems. And so the shallow hook I have found is a really good one for getting pin 6 started or set. 9 times out of 10 I can set it with the shallow hook, but there are a couple of locks, like the orange one here that we'll pick open here, that we'll need to have a deeper hook in order to get, but I'll need to use the shallow hook to get it started. Alright, so let's actually start looking at picking some of these guys open here. So let's go ahead and change our focus here. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with this red lock here. And this is the key for the red lock. And what we're going to notice with this lock is that the bitting is actually a really nice bitting. Oops. Got it. Haha. You know, and when I say nice, I mean easy. And so you can see there's not a lot of variation. So we can actually use probably a single pick with this lock here. What's going to happen is as we go on, so this is the key for, I think, for the orange lock. And you're going to notice now we're getting a bit of a high-low setting here, especially like with pin number 2, we've got a low cut and then we have a high cut right after it. So when we get this type of bitting here, this is where we're going to start having to jump between different picks and all of that. Alright, so let's go ahead and pick the red lock open here. So I'm going to go ahead and use our bottom of the keyway tension here. And I'm going to start with my custom shallow hook here. And I'm just going to start with pin number 1. And let's actually jump over to our other mic here so that we got the clicking. Alright, so let's start with pin 1. So I got click on pin 1. So pin 2, nice click. Pin 3, pin 4, got counter rotation. The other nice thing about the ABUS 7040 is the spool pins are nice and pronounced. So you get a clear false set and you can feel the counter rotation really nicely. So we're going to go ahead and just continue. And so we're on pin 5. Nice click and counter rotation. Alright, and now we're on pin 6. Alright, and I dropped something. There we go. And we're open. So, that was pretty easy. I like starting on this guy because it is the easier one. Let's take a look at the orange one. So the orange one, as we said before, I think was this key. What's here? 0490. Nope, it's this key. Nope. Alright, let's see here. I think I put it on my desk here. There we go. So, what we got with this guy is we have high, low, high, kind of medium, and then low. And so this is going to require a couple of different picks to open. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our shallow hook, and I'm going to start with pin 1. And what we're going to notice, because pin 1 is such a it is a 0 cut pretty much, if I have a lot of tension on this, I'm not going to get pin 1. Pin 1 is just not, I can't get by it. So you have to really watch your tension with that. And so oftentimes I'll counter rotate to get started, and then I'll set pin 1. Alright, so pin 1 I think is close. Alright, so let's continue. So I'm just going to set what I can. Alright. There we go. Once I can get this pick all the way to the back, we're done with it. Now I'm going to jump over to the pick 1 from Multpick. This is the, again, the PNF06 or the F06. And let's see what we can set with this. Alright, that's overset. And again, I'm feeling for the ones that I can counter rotate. See, these locks always give me the hardest time. Alright, so that was pin 1. Pin 1 dropped somehow. Alright, so pin 2. Set. Pin 3. Alright, pin 4. Got some counter rotation there, so let's set that. Let's go back. Alright, let's keep going. Alright, so pin 6 feels... Nope. Pin 5, pin 4. Alright, here we go. Alright, so that's that. Pin 3. Alright. Let's start in the back. Where are we? Alright, this is the first time I run into this. Alright, here we go. So pin 3. Pin 3 is right behind pin 2, and that's the one that I sometimes miss. And I realize that it's obvious that pin 3 becomes, or is right behind pin 2. What I mean by that, there we go, is that when we look at the key, pin 3 is that real high cut, which is behind a low cut. And so that trying to get the pick there is challenging. So you can see with this one, we have just enough space to get that set. Alright, let's go ahead and do one more. And let's do a new one that I got. And I just got this black one the other day. And the one reason why I want to do this black one here is this one, I think, is this the key? Which one is this? 153. Here it is. Yeah, this key has some nice high cut, low cut mountains and valleys. And so let's take a look at that. So we can see that we've got low cut, and then some mountains, and then a low cut, mountains, low cut, and let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. And so this is going to be a bit fun. And with these low cuts in this mountain here, it does cause some funkiness when it comes to tension. And so with this guy, what we're going to do is I'm going to change my approach to this. So we're going to start with our shallow hook, and what we're going to do is we're going to start in the front, and I'm going to show you the problem that I run into. So we got one set. Alright, so I'm on about pin 5 or pin 6, and I can't get it set. I can't get it lifted, and I'm just having a really hard time getting by it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start in the back with this one. And what that's going to do is that's going to give me enough space that I can get my multi-hook, or my multi-pick hook 1 in there. So let's go ahead and get what we can. Alright, so shoot, number 6 dropped. So you can see this is one of the problems I've run into a lot with this. And so I'm going to have to drop everything. Let's get back there. Alright, so let's actually see if we can set things first back there. So let's get back. There we go. Alright, perfect. You saw a nice deep false set here. So let's go ahead and keep moving forward. Alright, nice click there. Alright, let's see here. The other thing that you have to sometimes do with this is manually counter rotate in order to get the pin set. So that I just had to do that. Alright, there we go. And that's open. Alright, so those are kind of the... Actually, let me change my mic. So those are kind of the tips and the tricks that I have learned with picking open the ABUS 7240. You know, this is one of the few locks I have in my collection I actually have to jump back and forth between several different picks with. Now there are other people out there that also do jump back and forth between the tensioning in terms of bottom of the keyway tensioning and top of the keyway tensioning. Again, this tensioner from Covert Instruments from their Reaper set there, I think is a huge game changer when it comes to tensioning with the ABUS and especially Yale keyways because it opens it up so much more. So I hope everybody found this video to be informative. As always, feel free to like and comment on my videos and subscribe to my channel, and I hope everyone has a beautiful day, and I will see you all later.